On Sunday, I attended the third day of the Democratic Labour Party's annual General Conference. I think the whole of Barbados knows that because it was in the news media that when I got to the gate, I was one of those people that was on a list to be locked out. In any case, someone eventually changed that position and I was allowed in. I spoke at the business meeting where I made some comments in relation to parliamentary business, of course, being the leader of opposition business in the Senate. At the lunch break, I left with my mother and my aunt, two senior citizen members of the DLP, to have lunch and with the intention of returning to listen to Mr. Thorne's address, as you would expect. After leaving George Street, I received a call from someone who warned me, "Tricia, do not come back in here this evening." They didn't explain why, they just begged me not to return. I felt very uncomfortable, and I heeded that warning. That is the reason that I was at home when Mr. Thorne made the announcement that I was being removed from the Senate. I received the call from Mr. Stetson Babb of Starcom informing me about the announcement. That is how I found out. Now, I've had to reflect over the last few days what has been happening in the DLP and whether I would remain, because it's not obvious that you would come out, But a lot has happened. We've heard about the thunderous applause, or rapturous, however it was put. I've had to think about the reaction of the crowd. I've heard people gleefully try to excuse or explain or cheer Mr. Thorne's decision. In particular, quite disappointingly, Mr. Glenn Murray on the Marcia Week show, because somebody sent me a clip, where he praised the brutality of the action. That's the language that was used. And I've had to consider that the actual plan, was for me to be there in the front row, very likely, alongside of current parliamentary member Senator Ryan Walters and past senators like Maxine McLean and Verla de Pisa and the newly appointed senator, just a few feet in front of Mr. Ralph Thorne and in the belly of an audience with people who were, it seems, braying for my blood. In fact, just today, in his press conference, Mr. Thorne said that I was there when he made the announcement. So imagine if I had been there, quite possibly with my elderly mother in that hostile crowd. That's the party. That is the Democratic Labour Party. And I can't imagine why I would want to remain in that situation. I've thought about it long and hard. I cannot remain in a party that is happy to behave in that way. That is their values. And I certainly don't subscribe to that kind of treatment of people. In addition to that, I had to listen yesterday to Mr. Thorne say that he prefers a younger man to a woman in her 50s. He mightn't have put it that way, but that's what it is. He prefers to have a younger man in the Senate, a Senate that right now has an imbalance in relation to how many women are there versus the number of men. So that out of 21 senators, there are now 7, and 0 of them are from the Democratic Labour Party. So that's the worldview of the Democratic Labour Party and its leader. And I certainly do not subscribe to that worldview. I believe that humanity, civility, and kindness ought to be the watchwords for everyone as they go about their daily lives, whether or not it is in political life. And I understand that politics can be rough. Remember that I am also a lawyer. You've seen me in action. I understand cut and thrust and rough and tumble. I have been in the Senate for the past 6 months as leader of opposition business, opening the batting against a hostile BLP attack. And my record speaks for itself. Go and watch the Senate debates. They're on YouTube. You will see exactly who handled the fast bowling of the likes of Senator Liz Thompson. All the while protecting the young male opposition senator who was clearly in over his head. No, the roughness of the politics game does not scare me. However, I believe that civility is important in how you treat people, and I have therefore decided that I will not be a member of the Democratic Labour Party. Its new values, which have been on full display this past week, most certainly do not align with my personal values.